Hey YouTube, it's Corlash1990, and today I have a deck tech video for the Dark Age Feudal Lords CCG. I've done a video on this game in the past, and it was basically just like two quick to play, like quick to learn decks that I made for the game, because this game it's complicated at first, but once you play it, you realize actually how simple it is. It's just this game is highly unforgiving, because it's super driven by luck and dice. So I wanted to do some more in-depth competitive. I hate using the word competitive, but just more streamlined built decks. And so this deck is focused on playing or trying to play a bunch of really big, beefy, heavy hitting units or characters. I'm just so used to saying units. But there's multiple ways to go about in this game. You can play, one big guy and just keep sending it in over and over again, using all your resources to attack and block with them. Or you can play a bunch of little things and have things to block and send in, like a big group attack kind of a thing. Personally, I found making a deck that's between the two that can do both is kind of best. But this deck is mainly just streamlined towards playing the big things. So the leader I thought was best was the warhead leader. He has one max draft, so you can only You can only boost your roll to draft something to play a character by one. But he can your attack send it can be increased by 2. So that's pretty good, and the defense is kind of whatever. And the ability that I really like on him is when your draft roll is a 1, which happens when you really don't want it to happen the most. You can immediately re-roll it, and this triggers only once per turn. He has a minimum hand size of 3, which is, average for most of the leaders. So I figured he was the best leader for this strategy. There's a couple other ones that are also really good that have like a max draft of 2, but I like being able to re-roll that draft roll of 1. The location I am going with is the Park, Factory, and Mega Mall. I don't really know what, the names are for these, but, it is what it is. So Park, all combatants get +2 for distance fire. This one just straight up says there's no distance fire enhancing skills or weapons. And then this one says there's 1 extra round of close combat. This is the one that we want our opponent to tack into because it's where our deck thrives the most. And I am using one of the artifact bots, and I love the foiling in this game. It's like cold foils. You can see the texture there. It's like cold foils for Flesh and Blood, but this came out in 1996, so, this game did it first. But man, just look at that. It's all textured, and it's crazy reflective. You can see me on my camera, or my phone, I should say. Yeah, this card's pretty good, though. Like all artifacts, you need 1 more VP to win the game, so you need 11 instead of 10. I believe it's 10. You can set it to whatever you want, theoretically. But whenever you fail a draft roll, draw a card. And trust me, you're going to be failing them. And so this deck rewards you for failing your draft rolls because our characters are incredibly hard to put out into play. Speaking of which, let's go over the characters. Most of my decks run the same formula of like roughly 20 characters, like 8 weapons, 4 skills, and the rest are all instant cards along with 4 victory cards. These are 60 card decks, including, everything here is 60 total cards. So the first character we're playing, which these 3 should be in every single deck. Like, just straight up should be in every single deck. These are the best characters in the game. Like, that is just my personal opinion on this. They are all named characters, so you can only have 1 copy of them out for everyone. And if you have one out, your opponent can't play their version of it. And my little house rule is that all named characters, you can only run 1 copy of them in your deck. The ones that have a little triangle means you can have unlimited, or you can have up to 4 of them out. You can have multiples of them. But yeah, my little house rule, unique characters because they're so powerful, 1 copy of them per deck. So, St. Mark, he's insane. He has 4 health. His control is 7, so he's incredibly difficult to play. The skill and weapons or whatever, you don't really care. His combat string, as you can see, for shooting, which is the circle, close combat, which is square, and the saves, which is the shaded one. Yeah, it's really good. This guy will hit like a dump truck, basically. And you only ever want to solo attack with him because you can only ever solo attack with him. And when he's defending, all of his stats are reduced. So he doesn't like defending. He likes running out and attacking and just beating the crap out of your opponent. Next is Prudence. Again, 6 control, 4 health though, just like the other guy's 4 health. And Prudence has a pretty good melee stat. And yeah, no luck cards can be played against Prudence. So your opponent can't mess with you on like your die rolls. Let's kind of stack these up a little bit. Maul is another one we play, 5 health, which is one of the most, I think that's like the highest health in this game. There might be something a little more. But yeah, again, hits like a dump truck, and you can't heal the wounds off Maul. We don't care about that because we can't heal anyway. Grith is like a mini version of Maul, also good. Raze, besides looking sick as hell, has a really good combat string. And the cost to send Raze as a lone attacker or lone defender is more than 3 leadership, meaning you rolled a 300 die. It is reduced to 3. So if you ever roll really bad for a lone attacker, lone defender, Raze makes it to where that doesn't really matter as much. Briggun is, again, 7 control, but once it's out, its control is 4. +1 for each weapon he has, but whenever you arm him with a weapon, you basically get to draw a card. So that's a pretty good draw mechanic for this game. There's other versions that are cheaper to play and better, but I like him because I really dig the artwork. Ravage, which is part of the extra theme we have in this deck, which is a bunch of grenades. Typically, a character can't have the same weapon on them more than once. Ravage can have any number of grenades, like even multiples of the same one. Bane can remove himself from the combat if they do some tricky things. He can be like, oh crap, no, never mind, go back. Because characters die like crazy in this game. Like these crazy dice rolls can just make this character you put so much time and effort into playing can just die out of nowhere. So having the ability to remove yourself from combat and save yourself for defense is pretty good. And now for the characters we play multiple copies of. We have 4 copies of Wreacker. This is a big beefy unit that has like a pretty good combat strain. There's definitely a lot worse in this game, so not too bad. Preveyor is one of the better cards in this game. Good combat strain, and whenever Preveyor kills something, your opponent discards a random card out of their hand. Yeah, that's pretty good. Having 3 health too, this is a pretty tanky character. It'll be out for a couple turns. And then finally is Initiate of Murk. Really good combat string, as I knock my camera. Really good combat string for low control value. That's especially when your attack send is 2. This only costs you 1 leadership to throw out into play and attack with. Next is all of the things that we attach to our characters. So like I said, we have a grenade package in here. We have 4 grenade, cost 1 supply to play, not too bad. You can make an additional distance fire roll, which only hits on an 8, and then you discard it. And then next is smoke grenades. They cost 2 supplies, so a little bit more. But basically, you get rid of it to skip the distance fire round, which is really good for us because we don't really care about the distance fire round. And then for our skills, we play Dodge and Hide, which makes enemy combatants -2 to their distance fire rolls, or stats, I guess. So it makes it harder for them to hit us in distance fire round. Next is all of our instant cards. And a card that I play in every single deck, and that should be in every single deck, I have 4 copies, is Inspiration. It's a free card to play, and basically it says when your leadership roll is a roll of 1, you change it to a 4, and then you add 1 to your supply. Yeah, this mitigates turns where you just like time walk yourself. Like you don't, or like you time walk your opponent base. Like you don't want to roll a 1 on leadership because it means you can't really do much of anything. This mitigates that in like the perfect way. There's another version of this card where if you roll 1 on your supply, change it to a 4, add 1 to your leadership. I don't play it in here because we don't really care about our supply, but you could use it to, have other ways to buff up your leadership. Just keep that in mind. I also play 4 Search for Crew. When you fail a draft roll, draw 3 cards. Cost is 0 to play. This card's amazing, especially when we're probably going to be failing our draft rolls quite a bit. And next, I Get Out of There, You Big Lug. Man, I love the names to these cards in this game. Costs 1 leadership to play. When you create your combat pool, you can send a lone attacker or defender for free. Yeah, this card is, you know what, it even goes right here because this card is probably the best instant in our deck. Being able to save our leadership to spend to play things, to send things in for free, yeah, this card's insane. Aggression is really good, costs nothing, and it says play before a round of close combat. No combatant matchups, roll block dice. So, yeah, all of your attacks are basically unblocked. This card's great, especially when you have big combat strings. And not quite dead, costs 1 leadership. You search your discard pile for a character and put it into your hand. Really good. This card, which is Scour, Battlefield, 0 supply. Play during combat, return 1 weapon that was lost back to your hand. So the grenades that sacrifice themselves, you get to replay them to then reuse them next turn. Also really, really good in this deck. And then finally, I'm not the biggest fan of victory cards, but I wanted these decks to demonstrate kind of everything that this game has to offer, including supply cards. Though I don't really like... I love these cards, but the fact that you only get 1 per box means people aren't going to have these, especially because they're like the chase cards of the game. Outside of Clergy Ann, which is the one promo they did. But, you know, I have 3 of the different artifacts, so I might as well use them. But these victory cards, basically when you start a combat and you pick an area to attack and you do you send your stuff. Before you do your attack rolls, you can play a victory card face down. And at the end of the combat, after everything's done, you can reveal them. And if the condition is met on them, you score the victory points for them. Rumble time can only be played while you're an attacker. And basically, you get an extra VP for every dude you killed, and you do not roll control VP for characters that you killed. This one, get the goodies, also usable as an attacker only. If you sack the location with a supply card on it, your opponent loses a VP. If the one you sacked had an artifact supply card like one of these, you gain an additional VP, so you'd gain 4, and your opponent still loses 1. These 2 are played on defense. Wipeout is the same thing as this, but on defense. And in your face ace is you get 3 VP for killing your opponent's highest control combatant. Do not roll your control VP die for the kill. So this card's almost too good too. Being able to just score 3 VP as a defender, if the person they attacked with is their strongest dude, which more than likely it is, that card's nuts. So anyway, that is this deck tech for my Warhead leader deck, or my Beefcake Brawler, as I've kind of dubbed the name to it, which I felt was pretty fitting name for this game with the theme that it is, you know, kind of all about. Yeah, this deck is great. It can just steamroll the crap out of your opponent, and they can spend a long time trying to kill some of the guys you play, especially some of these beefier ones that have a lot of health, like 4, 5, and 3 is pretty high up there, but 1 and 2 are kind of like the average. So yeah, I really like this deck. It plays like a just a very in-your-face kind of like a mid-rangey kind of a deck, though mid-range and aggro are a little different in this game because you can only ever play 1 character a turn. But yeah, it focuses on brawling your opponent in hand-to-hand combat or in close combat. And the deck is a ton of fun to play. This game in general is a ton of fun to play because you can't rely on anything. Again, like your luck is all, oh, these are Dragoborn dice, but yeah, your luck is all on the roll. It's everything. Your chances to play things, your chances to attack, to defend, even the resources you get, it's all random. And I think, the game was obviously designed with that in mind. And I think it's perfect. It is just a good representation of a game that does not take itself seriously, which is something that I personally respect a lot. And the artwork is sick. It's pretty much right up my alley. It looks like stuff that I would draw myself. And if you like Braum, the artist, and you don't know about this game, 1, you probably do know about this game, and 2, if you don't play it, you should. And if you probably do anyway. But yeah, that is my deck tech. I'm going to stop rambling and talking in circles. But yeah, this is my deck tech video for this. I said I had 1 more deck on social media. I actually have 2 more. I was able to scrap together a 3rd deck. So stay tuned for those decks in the future. And again, thank you to all the new subscribers I've gotten. If people are even listening to this point, I imagine most of you, I've gotten 30 new subscribers in the last month. I imagine it's for the sorcery TCG. Just be patient with me on this dead card game stuff. There will be a lot more sorcery stuff in the future when I get all of my beta boxes, which is 7 of them. And for those of you who are here for the dead card game stuff, be patient with me on the sorcery game. There will be plenty of more dead card game videos in the future. And again, thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.